There it is.
Good morning.
The numbers are moving.
Evening, everyone. Turn the meeting to order. If you please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Evening, everyone. This is the special meeting, Lake Forest City Municipal Land Use Board, October 29, 2025, in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided by posting on the City Hall bulletin board and by notification to our newspapers of record. And I ask the secretary to make this announcement part of the public record. And roll call, Donna, please.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Guard?
Here.
Mrs. Flores?
Here.
Michael McKenna?
Here.
Mr. Molyneux?
Here.
Mr. Frick?
Here.
Rachel Bola? Ryan McGowan?
Here.
And Secretary here.
Thank you, Donna. We have minutes of September 16th for approval.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Resolution 2025-11, David Grossa, 1401 White Horse Pike. Motion on the resolution.
Take a motion.
A second.
Second.
Roll call, please, Donna.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Guard?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Michael McKenna?
Yes.
Mr. Molyneux?
Yeah.
Mr. Frick?
Since I denied it, do I vote on it?
This is just to memorialize the accuracy
Okay.
of the written resolution against the board minutes.
Okay, yes.
Yes, for it, yes.
Okay, new business, application 2025-08, Humboldt Organics LLC.
Thank you, Chairman. Is it?
Yeah.
Members of the board, good evening, and thank you very much for having this meeting. Appreciate it. My name is Chris Valens, and I represent Humboldt Organics with respect to their application tonight for property at 1123 Atlantic Avenue, which identifies lots 1 and 27 and block 547 in the highway commercial zone. And the application tonight is for a use variance as well as a waiver of site plan to allow our client to occupy the space with a cannabis cultivation facility. That's a facility that from the outside you wouldn't know what's going on. Everything is taken care of inside. The reason that we request a use variance is because it's not permitted in the highway commercial zone, it's permitted in the industrial zones. Not here, but you'll hear, we think the site, you've seen it on Atlantic Avenue is probably a perfect site to do it. There's a tow yard across the street, there's nothing residential around it. It's kind of secluded, but it has some visibility for Atlantic Avenue. It's almost windowless, but not really, and it works out for these guys really, really well. Andy Schaefer is our professional planner and our engineer tonight. My client and the property owner introduced themselves to be sworn in meeting all at the same time, probably the best way to do it.
Rachel, if you're-
Just like to stand, raise your hand. You guys can all just state your name for the record.
All right, Andy Schaefer, firm Schaefer Nassar Scheiding, engineer and planner, state of New Jersey.
Thomas Giovanni.
Great. Do you all swear that everything you provide tonight will be the truth?
It is.
Thank you.
Okay, you're the property owner? Yes. Tom, you're the operator?
Correct.
Andy, you want to start? Sure. I can sit here and give you an opening statement about what they're going to do, but then he's just going to do the same thing. So preferably let him do it.
Yeah, fine. So this is a use variance for the existing building as well as an addition that we plan on building on top of the existing concrete pad that's here. Now I say plan on. That plan has quotation around it in that it may or may not happen. We're asking for a site plan waiver for what's here, not the addition. However, we're asking for a use variance for the existing building plus the addition. That doesn't,
If the addition gets done, we will be back here for your approval. It's not something we're asking for approval tonight.
right, other than the use variance, including the area of that building, but we would still have to do a site plan for the addition when and if we decide we want to do that, but at that point in time, they haven't decided yet, but we thought we'd take the opportunity to include it in the use variance, so we don't come back here for a second use variance application later on.
Why don't you go over and tell what property, existing zoning, and why we're doing it, check the use.
Right, it's in the highway commercial zone, but it does have a tow lot across the street, vacant land, and then another use over here. None of it residential surrounding it whatsoever, which is a good thing for this. But it's still, and I'll get into the special reasons shortly, but I don't want to describe the use. So the use itself will have, when we get to, if we do the addition, we'll have up to 5 people there during harvest time. Otherwise, it's 1 to 2 people on site. And then without the addition, it would be a 2 to 4 maximum number of people on site, depending on what activity is taking place inside. Given they don't have a whole lot of grow rooms, given the size of the building, this would almost be considered a micro cultivation system, rather than having 12 grow things all in a different line where you're doing cultivation once a week. This will be much less often.
And we're primarily talking tonight with respect to what's going to take place in the existing building.
That's right.
And that's a 1 to 2 employee operation because it's primarily a cultivation facility, a grow facility, a dry facility, and goes out to the retail facility.
Correct. So there would be normally, as far as traffic goes, the 2 employees that normally be there, maybe up to 3 or 4 once a month type of thing for a cultivation that is harvesting. And then in terms of deliveries, a UPS truck once or twice a week, and then deliveries going out would be a small Sprinter type van up to 3 times a week, some weeks 0. So it's variable, but a very light impact. There's no noise, everything's contained inside.
Small size packaging, nothing.
Right, small size packaging. So what goes on inside the building, they've already started some of the renovations just to preserve what's there, because the building is sort of dilapidated. So you'll notice it has new windows, it has a fence around it that has just recently been put in. And the idea is to renovate the building, and that means building a new building inside the building so that it's airtight. It's essentially what happens. It'd be like a giant cooler so that it's airtight. It'll have a vacuum system in there, air filtration, carbon air filtration system, and that'll create a negative pressure on. So when you open the door, rather than getting a blast or something that doesn't smell so nice, it'll suck fresh air in.
Now, there is an HVAC system and interior air does go out.
A very sophisticated one, yes.
Tell us about that.
So mostly, it has an air exhaust system that uses carbon filters, which are very effective for removing the scents and the smell from this, as long as they're maintained.
In the industry, they're called air scrubbers.
Air scrubbers, yes, more specifically. And I'm suggesting that the board make a condition of approval that they would give you the log sheets associated with the maintenance of that equipment, as well as a copy of the manufacturer's recommendations for doing such, so that it maintains its integrity and doesn't create an odor in the neighborhood, because there are some systems in the area that do create a smell.
And the reason for all that, for providing the records and for the type of system that's being installed, is to prevent a smell from being involved.
That's correct. And for the sake of licensing, every cannabis grow facility, cultivation, needs to have a pretty sophisticated security, cameras, locks, passageways with, with combinations and so forth, so that it's not easy to get into. Whether it's a vehicle or a person, everything is controlled, including the fencing and the gates. So that's basically how the operation works.
So it's not 24 hours a day. Obviously, the product is growing 24 hours a day, but it's a manned facility with a regular daytime shift.
Right, so there's quite a bit of a number of products on this, and the sophistication and technology does vary significantly from one to the other. So I've had some that were 40,000 square feet cannabis facilities, grow facilities. They required 30 or 40 employees. I've had other the same size that required 5. So it depends on the amount of automation and so forth they're using. They're using quite a bit of automation. and also it's a small size, so the activity level here will be relatively low.
And it's limited to cultivation.
And it's limited to cultivation, no manufacturing, so cultivated product will be packaged and taken out. So what goes in are seeds. What comes out are hermetically sealed packages. So again, we're not in a situation where we could potentially be releasing odors.
Members of the public, no need for members of the public to visit the site.
No, and in fact, there's no sign proposed. Right, there's no identification sign on the building or freestanding sign. Again, there's just no need. We will, if you decide you would like that, we can put a small sign,
The address,
the address, whether it's on the building or a freestanding sign, your choice. But it should have at least a freestanding, or excuse me, a sign of one sort or another with the number, of the street number on it.
and from your perspective, Andy, as a planner, do you think this site works for what those guys are proposing to
Certainly,
do?
again, because it has access to transportation, it's not near any residential, and in fact, it's either surrounded by vacant land or other commercial uses that are, especially a kilowatt, would be quite a bit more active than the cannabis.
From the city records, it's been vacant for quite some time?
It's been vacant for some time. There's a rumor that it was concrete, manufactured concrete sarcophagus, I said that correctly, plural sarcophagus. And so it's been in manufacturing use in the past, we're pretty sure.
So it might be a coffee maker?
The concrete things fault, thank you, whoever said that, was a better word, easier to say. So in terms of the special reasons under 40:55D, there are several that we look at that promotes the reason for approving the use variance for this. The first is under letter A, to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. The site is particularly well suited since its ability to comply with permitted use on a portion of this. It creates jobs. It creates jobs. And it improves the blighted property.
You saw the business plan, you can't hire exclusively through a city.
Yes, that's correct. So it's going to improve a blighted site, both in terms of the landscaping and, care of it, as well as renovating the buildings. Again, they've already started, they've replaced all the windows and doors and so
The
forth.
building's supposed to be painted, the landscaping outside, clean up the
They're in the
outside.
process of doing that, even though they don't have approvals yet. The owner building has it, so they already own it, and are committed to making this work. But they also want to preserve what they have and not continue to have it degrade from wetlands. Because the old one is, I saw the pictures when it was shot.
Well, I have it there, what is the proposal for traffic, where are they gonna pull off?
And then
Access
existing,
site park.
there's a gravel area here where cars used to park. And you can still see some cars parked there if you look at the,
That's off the side street.
yes, it's off the side street. I would imagine they're associated with this use, because several cars parked here. There is a gravel dirt area here, they can park it. Is it ideal? No. And if we come back for the approved, try to get the addition approved, there will be more site work that'll have to be done. But at this point in time, we want to get the system open, operating, create the revenue, which would hopefully give us the ability to add on.
And for the cultivation use, the building works just fine where it is.
That's correct.
So then it doesn't need to be altered or enlarged.
Nope, it'll be the same size, but there is,
And how many square feet is it, building?
I might know,
Yes, add that somewhere.
thank you. 2,000 square feet, and we're proposing a potential 1,240 square foot building addition. And again, we haven't even decided for sure whether we're going to do that at all. And we understand that,
Obviously depends on the success of this.
right, it depends on the success of this, and if we do get this, it's only going to be the use variance for that, it won't be a site plan approval. So we couldn't start building an addition now. We'd have to go through the Pinelands Commission, just like any other site would, and then come back here for site plan approval.
I know. Okay. Special use.
That's the reason.
Purpose of the act.
So on the same act, item E, promote establishment of appropriate population density and concentrations that will contribute to the well-being of persons, neighborhoods, communities, regions, and preservation of the environment. Again, we're not building a new building. This is less of an impact to the environment by the fact that we're utilizing an existing site and improving the site, and it also fulfills some of the needs for jobs in the area. And it's sort of consistent with the surrounding uses being commercial. Yes, sir. And item C, provide sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of agricultural, which this is, agricultural uses. So that's why this board reason is particularly well suited, because it does promote, even though it's indoor, the agricultural use. And then I, letter I, to promote the desirable visual environment. I think when you look at the building that's there now and what it's going to look like afterwards, it's going to be an asset to the community. And then in plain English, the positive criteria is upgrade an existing building and a site in need of just being rehabilitated. Yes. Provide new employment. And it's a low traffic impact use compared to other things that could potentially go in there with the number of employees we're talking about, the number of deliveries coming out.
Permitted use. Permitted use.
Permitted use, that's right.
Could be more intense.
That's right.
And so a lot of that we talked about is promotion of general welfare, putting the building back online.
Absolutely.
Generating taxes again for it.
Right.
Having maybe generate some jobs in Egg Harbor City, generate some revenue.
Rehabilitation
And
is
make it
always,
look better.
rehabilitation is always better than building new buildings, especially in the Pinelands areas.
What about the negative criteria?
I can't see any, as a professional planner, I don't see any negative impact to the community. It's all positive. Because the amount of traffic this will generate is negligible and hardly noticeable.
Do you think that variance can be granted without substantial impact on the zone plan and zone ordinance?
Yes, I do.
Why is that?
Again, because while it is not a permitted use in the zone specifically for this, it's a low impact to the neighborhood. In fact, actually, it'll be a positive impact in the fact that the building will be improved.
At this point, there's no impact on drainage, there's no impact on traffic.
No, because there's no new impervious coverage proposed.
For the use variance, we have to show a balancing of the positive and the negative. Do you think the positive outweighs the
Well,
negative?
the positive clearly outweighs the negative in this case, which, and again, I say the negative, I can't determine what the negative would be.
Do you think the site is appropriately suited for the use?
Again, because it's surrounded by either empty property or commercial uses, yes.
Tom, would you introduce yourself to the board, please?
I just have one question.
Yes, please.
I just want to clarify something. When you were talking about the air scrubbers, I thought I heard you say you'd like the board to make that a condition of the approval. if they were
I'm
to approve.
suggesting that because that way somebody can monitor their log of when they've done it, and they have in the same file what the manufacturer recommends.
Okay. How often would you recommend that to be a condition?
Monthly? I would suggest, we only suggested because other towns have suggested, requested that
And it's a good suggestion.
Absolutely. Does anyone else have questions for Mr. Schaefer?
Anyone?
What improvements are you going to do to make that building look a little bit more pleasant?
Okay, Tom, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Tom Giovanucci, owner of Humble Organics.
Tom, you've done this before, this is not your first go at it?
Yeah, so I've been part of many projects throughout California, Maine, and now in New Jersey. My partner Trina actually from James Point Boutique Dispensary. So we're very, I'm very accustomed to the compliance with the CRC, operating under all their ordinances, making sure everything's compliant. We actually just had a state inspection yesterday, all went well. This is a cultivation of dispensary, but I will be bringing in a master grower who is coming in from, who is highly skilled, has a decade plus of experience, as well as a chief compliance officer. And then I would be kind of management throughout all of that. I'm also partnered with a manufacturing facility, so anything that doesn't get bagged and tagged directly from our facility will just be directly shipped to the manufacturing, turned into products, and they distribute from there.
How do you take care of waste?
Waste, we have to destroy it in a kind of a funky manner, such as if it's byproduct of cannabis, we have to destroy it with other kind kind of compostable. So we can mix it in with dirt, or we could grind it up with.
So it's non-recognizable as
Yeah,
cannabis product.
unusable, can't touch it. CRC recommends we put a bottle of bleach and blend it, but. there's
Board
some-
members, correct this, what you're gonna do to the building to make it look nice from the outside?
It does have a fresh paint job, new roof, and new windows, as well as new steel doors. We would look to beautify this property because it's a bridge, and I personally am a Stockton graduate, and I'm talking with professors as well as the individuals who created the cannabis program at Stockton. And I would love to be able to bring them into this atmosphere, to be able to learn.
Talk about the improvements to the outside of the building. So you're gonna do landscaping, things like that, you're gonna paint a different color?
Landscaping, I love the white building, I think it looks much better than what it looked like in the past.
So from the land cabinet, you'll see landscaping out front,
Yeah, open.
right, some building treatments on the front, awning over the door, and make it more defined entry.
No problem.
Maybe define the parking, restone the area.
I'm so sorry, just for the record, just because it's not video, if you just want to identify yourself. as you
Craig
can.
Bissett,
Thank you.
Craig Bissett.
And you're the building owner,
Yes, I'm the building owner.
you're talking about defining some parking out on the side?
Yeah, there's grass in the stone.
I think what he's saying about the parking is, there is an existing parking area here, however, it is not in the best shape. And what he's gonna be doing is putting a fresh coat of gravel on that to make it more defined.
Okay.
And then just some edging, some landscaping, maybe an awning over the front door, maybe even an awning over the garage door, possibly in the back. Maybe some, if we have to, do some trees down, some like land cypress or something down the fence line to kind of screen off, so you can't see through the fenced in area.
And that's the kind of stuff these guys want to hear, and not maybe.
Well, no, if you, it would be my interest, I think it would do good and help screen it off.
Ryan, I guess you would determine the zoning requirements for all that, right?
Yeah, so they asked for a site plan waiver and they're not proposing any development, so they don't trigger the landscaping requirements
Okay.
of the ordinance. That's why I didn't
We're
comment
open
on
to,
that.
I'm fine without landscaping.
That's
That's my personal feeling.
We're
Yeah.
open to recommendations.
They had a detailed, plan here, and why not just have the,
So they asked for a
Site
site plan waiver, they're not proposing any site improvements. This is kind of a delicate one, because if they propose site improvements that trigger the need to submit to the finance, then we can't even hear this tonight. They would have to submit to the commission, and we'd have to get a certificate of filing and all that. So frankly, I saw this application as the correct opportunity to go over the use variance, because that does not need an application from the commission either way. And if you guys are comfortable with it as is, and you don't feel like you need a site plan, then we can proceed as we are, and if we got here and had this discussion, and everyone said, well, I really need to see a site plan, I need to see the improvements, I need to see, whatever it is that we need to see, then we would deny the site plan waiver and require them to come back and say.
can you take everything that they said in here and put it in the resolution?
They
submitted it with their application.
I was gonna say, it all becomes, I guess it would be exhibit L for the.
Yeah, so, in all of our resolutions, I always put the language that Ryan's, report is incorporated herein, and then I highlight certain bits, because adding all of that language would make every
Sure,
resolution so long. So every report Ryan does is a part of our resolution.
I think he's talking about the submittal from the.
I think the
Oh,
business-
I'm sorry,
yes,
yes, sorry.
From the application.
Yeah, I can certainly add that.
Because I got a bunch of questions here. I mean, you're talking about sidewalks and curbing you're gonna put in?
that would be with the site plan, if we did the addition. That's what that refers to, not starting out.
That wasn't done clearly in here, though.
I attached that more for, I attached that, and these guys prepared it more for information as to how the cultivation works. Not with respect to the site improvements, that was not the intention.
I mean, you got sidewalks, there's talk of solar panels in here, there's,
Solar panels on the roof, that still can happen, I'm just talking about the site work with respect to
it
parking lot.
doesn't say on the roof, it just says solar, unless I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong, solar panels We'd love this to be a big operation. We'd love to build a big addition and do the whole site and have like a brand new commercial site. We'd like to get started with the cultivating, see if it works, see if it's viable, and then work on the site and do the site improvements. The idea, the reason, you could, Todd, why'd you pick this
A
spot?
lot of, a lot of, I think, what was submitted there was kind of some of our generic ideas of, that was for our CRC. And it was kind of like our shot at the application of the use variance.
So is this more of a wish list, or is this what's gonna happen?
That's best case scenario.
Yeah.
And what's the worst case scenario?
Use property as is.
Paint the building, put some awnings up, do some landscaping, make it look nicer from the road, improve it as much as possible without putting a parking lot in, without putting sidewalks, curbing, et cetera.
I read all that, I kind of interpreted that as if they came back for phase 2 of the site plan, or if the board denied this application, or denied the site plan waiver, then all of that stuff would apply. Because they're not gonna be able to propose things like that without having to go to the commission as well. So
However, we could provide landscaping without going to the commission.
yeah, you could do that, you could replace the service walk, things like that.
Right.
They just couldn't add like perimeter curbing and sidewalk.
They can put solar panels in without going?
They could put solar on the roof, but they could not do a ground mount system. The other thing I'd like to highlight that is the proximity of this site to the stream that's between the building and Nevada Avenue. So they're gonna have significant restrictions on, outdoor additions, at least past the footprint of the building. They'll have some protections and some rights, because the building counts as intervening development, so you're allowed to develop like from the building on towards the terrace with some things, but developing this site and expanding, and like adding a parking lot and all that would be a significant challenge, because you're gonna be in wetlands or wetland buffers.
And when you talk about the money, is that the current building, or is that with your second phase?
That's with the additional improvements.
That's actually the current, I believe, other than the build out, the revenue and whatnot, is pretty similar for this facility.
Current, that if you moved in there tomorrow and started, these numbers would be good, or as good as you can guess.
Our goal is to do about 2 million.
I read that as full facility.
Yeah, so the one thing about this property specifically is I do love they had the concrete pad for possibility of expansion, and then it did have that large shed on the property that, I don't know, I didn't want to get ahead of myself, because this is really like a research and development project. We want to team up with individuals to study the root system and find the nutraceutical benefits within that, as well as supply top tier flour to patients in need. That was kind of Humble Organics' personal mission from 2021 when it got started.
You started this process in 2021?
The dream came alive then. I started working with the Cancer Foundation. I noticed, there's a lot of...
You also mentioned, Tom, that you would generate some money, donate some money back to the city, back to the school system,
Yes.
and that would start now.
That starts once revenue generated. And that would be the 2% tax for the township, which is estimated ballpark of 40,000 annually.
So if you got a yes vote tonight, what would you actually be able to do to that building? Brian, what could they do to that building?
So pretty much everything I talked about, landscaping, awning improvements, if they wanted to add solar to it, any building improvements that are not, site related, not creating new impervious surface. Because they have an existing site that seems to have a history of sort of industrial use, they're allowed to reoccupy. If they came in, with a similar type use, if it was manufacturing vaults for cemeteries, and now they're going to manufacture something else that's similar, they want to manufacture concrete flower pots, they would have just came in and got a zoning application and resumed operations in the building. But because cannabis cultivation is not a permitted use, they have to come in for these reasons. So that's really why we're here, that's the truth.
And then one more thing, your hazardous waste, that would be kept in the building, never outside?
No, we'd have a quarantine area, anything that far as hazardous, it will be small collection. Everything is going through another secondary RO system, so those are collected and are collected.
It stays inside, so it's collected?
Yeah, it stays all inside, and then we will have a company come and clean that as well as replacing.
Would you have to put it in drums?
Yes, yeah, it will be collected in trucks.
Your employees gonna be parking in the lot or in the fenced-in lot?
Not necessarily.
Employees are going to be parking either on the side of the road or behind the building, on the property,
I'm
yes.
missing the point.
In
I
reality, they
think
could
the
park
issue
on
is
that
that we're
concrete
typical to be
pad.
in terms of
We have the gravel area.
The gravel area is behind the fence.
No, it's on the side, it's on the side street, it's on 11 Terrace.
It looks like it's about half, maybe half out, outside the fence and half in.
Correct, yeah. Well, if I have to notch the fence a little bit, keep everybody, it's, like I said, we're open to do whatever we need to, if we need to put parking on the concrete pad.
Well, unfortunately, your tenant across, not your tenant, but the person across the street
Yeah, it is.
doesn't follow any of the rules, and they park everywhere and anywhere. So the unfortunate aspect is, because some people can't follow the rules, we have to impose rules to try to make sure we can control it. So I think if you were to bump that fence to back,
That's what I was thinking.
so that way that gravel area, it's already gravel, you can park off the street, no hindrance to the alleyway or anything else, I think that would be a pretty good move. And just, maybe 6 by 6 or something to define that parking area and make it look clean.
You guys okay with that?
Yeah, that'd be.
Just out of curiosity, why don't you want a sign?
It's unnecessary, we don't do any, it kind of puts a target on you as a cultivation, so that's one. I believe there are some sign restrictions on some cultivations. I'm not positive on some of them, but overall, we're business to business. We're not going direct to consumer by any means, and for safety, we don't want anybody thinking that there's $1 million in this facility.
For a bunch of pot, somebody come in and steal?
Yeah.
I think our last applicant on Bremen Avenue said the same, he wants a very small sign because he doesn't want to advertise it.
Yeah, just an address sign, for fire, police, really.
If you had a small address, I would put the name of Humboldt Organics on it? You leave that open to,
I'm open to.
in case you decide to?
Yeah,
Just so the building can be identify where you guys are?
it does not impact our day-to-day business activities by any means, if it is not.
I was just curious about that.
As long as there's a clear address on the building, I mean, for first responders is the most important thing.
Ryan, I have a question. I just pulled up I always check into the Pinelands interactive map, and when I'm looking at it, that's the property, and it's right in the center of the wetlands, and the light blue is the wetlands buffer. And I know that can be reduced with public sewer. Do you think they're going to permit any of this to happen if it's in the wetlands, especially an additional addition?
Well, the building already exists.
Right.
An addition could occur on an existing impervious surface.
Okay.
The wild card is, how do you deal with stormwater when you add on-site parking and other impervious to the site? You can get the buffer reduced all the way down to 50 feet, and sort of what I discussed before was intervening development. So if you have development that is closer to the wetlands already, you're usually allowed to do some development with some additional restrictions or requirements behind that, already intruding item. So I think if the building sort of sets the perimeter of that, they would be able to work towards the terrace from there.
Which isn't that
There's
wide.
not a lot, yeah.
No.
Most, I mean, it's a large property, but most of the property
Is
would
land.
remain undeveloped.
Yeah.
Andy, you can live with that?
Yes, we have, and that's why we're asking for a site plan waiver to do what's there right now, and the use variance for the expansion, but not the site plan, because it's a very good chance. My view of it is not as optimistic as Ryan. In terms of what we've done in the Pines, I've had a number of projects denied that were very similar to this. In the wetland, they weren't in the wetland, but they were in the wetland buffer. No, the answer is just no. So there's a good chance we won't be able to come back, let alone whether we want to or not, so.
The other question I had is for the cannabis cultivation. Is there a certain amount of licenses we have for the city, or we can have as many as possible?
No, so the city has no limit on the number of cultivators, manufacturers, delivery services, or there's one other class that is escaping me. But we only restricted the number of retail locations.
Okay.
You know, because we talked about, you know, what business in an industrial park, and like, if the next 3 are cannabis, is that really going to impact anybody in a negative way? And it seemed like the answer was no, so.
Okay. And currently, we have 2 cultivations in Industrial Park, one's up and running, the other one's being built, is that correct?
Yeah, the other one is, I'll call it stalled. They cleared the site and then are sort of not active at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, there is, in the, I don't remember exactly what the address is, but yeah, they started in like one and then they expanded to another. So they actually have to go back to the city to expand their licensing. But yes, there is a functional cultivator there.
Okay.
Yeah, we just had one come before, a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago.
Yeah, that's-
Yes,
Mark
yeah,
Bell.
that's
Both
right.
of
So
them.
he's, okay. I'll forget about that.
Oh, yeah, he started
He's
site
under-
clearing
he's
already.
under construction.
Yeah. I just had a question. So Tom, so you're going to be running this facility, right? Or you're not the owner? Oh, you're the owner of the building?
No.
Right, so Craig's the owner of the building. So will you be leasing it, or you will be purchasing it from him? The building?
Contingent on kind of this meeting.
Purchasing,
What?
contingency.
Well, that was my question, because I see the property's up on the market for sale, so it's actually on the market for sale. So your potential buyer is looking to purchase this and then ask for a variance to approve it in the HC zone?
Ask the variance first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
so
then-
it's contingent upon that.
right.
Okay.
I don't like, I don't want to say that, never really feel sorry for anybody.
Oh, no,
That's
no,
my,
he's
just my,
not.
just my question.
He's
That's
making
the
a
realtor
contingent.
talking.
That's my question.
Yeah, so it's contingent upon getting the approval to purchase it. So of course, Craig wants us to approve it. Well, we do have a zone for that out in the industrial park. We have plenty of facilities out there. So if by chance we don't approve this tonight, you're not purchasing the property, you're just going to move on to another area. Right. So there's no hardship on your end because you don't own it already. Then, Craig owns it and he's hoping that we approve it to sell it. To make some money.
Do you have
Yes.
any interest in Humboldt Organics?
I'm gonna actually, help Tommy with it and actually stay on the construction, I am GC, and I'm gonna stay on and help him actually, and I live in Florida, so.
Right, is there any other interest in that building in the West?
No, nobody really interested in it, it's kind of just been sitting, unfortunately, I was gonna use it, and now I'm not coming back to it.
Yeah, I see it's been on the market for a while.
So, yeah.
Had it listed higher price, you just reduce it, but commercial market isn't really that hot right now.
Yeah.
So that was my question is, the hardship isn't really for you, he's looking to sell
We're not saying this is
Right,
hardship.
it's hardship, no.
Any justification?
it. Yeah, I just want to get a clarification because I know it's on the market for sale. So those are my questions. Yeah.
I'm sure it's cheaper to remodel, that's why I remodel than build new.
Definitely.
This facility has plenty of power for us.
Yeah,
It's a very clean, single building with concrete, so.
It's very secure, it's a block building, been there forever, the thing has been through many weathers, and it's got three-phase electric already, and it's all the bones and all there, plus it's a super secured building, plus for water and stuff, for plants, it actually does a lot better. And to build a concrete building today is more than steel, most guys are doing steel and they're not out, they're not as secure.
Boyd Wimberg, he's done it, that's where he sold it a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we have. Thank you.
I think, my personal feelings is, the building's just sitting there. It has no negative impact, as you said, to the community, so I
That's what you're looking to
think
build.
it's good.
Let's
I mean,
hear
there's
from
improvement.
Ryan's engineering report, please.
Yeah, so I'll skip right to the technical part. I think they did a good job of covering what the proposal is and went through the negative positive criteria and all that. There's a couple of things from my general comments. The proposed use of the shed structure and the condition of the shed was a question that we had. No proposed use. So no proposed use, what, can we comment on the current condition of it, whether?
It's standard. Yeah, it's good shape. I mean, it's got a little rot on the exterior, but as far as it either needs to be replaced or maybe resheeted or whatnot, but depending what.
The shed had not had a zoning permit, it's not permitted, it was moved in there without permission,
Okay.
So that,
years ago,
Yeah.
but even before the owner, but nonetheless, this is our opportunity to do housekeeping and bring everything up to standard.
Yeah.
I can remove it.
You want to see it go away?
Well, let's hear the rest of Ryan's report and
So the other things I'd comment on were that the applicant should discuss ADA regulations for parking and whether there's an accessible route to the building. Thoughts?
As long as we can do that without triggering the site plan, we can provide that. And I happen to do a lot of expert witness work for ADA, and we have been able to add, let's say, a concrete pad and then a concrete walk to the walkway to the door. It needs to be done without having to trigger site plan. And yes, that should be done if we're successful here, but again, I'm hoping not to trigger a site plan.
Yeah, well, that's, I think we have enough existing concrete area to be able to do it on. I think, it's.
Yeah, the driveway part doesn't have to actually provide access paved to the parking area, so.
Right, so you have an impervious parking pad, and then provide a route, it should be less than 1,000 square feet of impervious, less than 5,000 square feet of disturbance. And then I don't see if we can go back to Highlands,
Should we do that?
Yeah, fine, we can do that.
for the board. And it would literally just, consist of a small path from the concrete over to the front door so that you can provide ADA accessibility. Under normal circumstances, if they didn't have to come for the use variance, that would just be handled in the building department. Adequacy of any existing exterior proposed site lighting. We didn't really talk about hours of operation. It was mentioned in the application package, but is there anything?
He said it's a workday schedule. Overnight, not manned. There's no additional site lighting proposed other than lighting by the doors, safety lighting, and cameras, of course.
Right, so really just egress lighting.
Right.
Most of the parking is right near that one door, that side door, correct?
Yes.
So you propose like a building mount light there to illuminate that space?
Right, so maybe some more building mounted lighting would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Also, Lancaster Electric do telephone pole, that's true. It would be easier as well, probably, site like that whole corner, because it is on the corner property.
Yeah, it looks like there's an existing Cobra head on the pole facing towards Atlantic. So yeah, I mean, that would be an option to flood back towards the property or something like that, but, yeah, I mean, I do think a wall back on that side illuminating that, because that's where all of the parking is, that's where
And you
you're
light
going.
on the terrace side, side street.
Yeah,
There is a wall back on the left there, it's perfect.
okay, well then, there you go, so that's the existing site lighting, that answers my question. And then the last question I had that we talked about a little bit was that the city has an ordinance which requires an outdoor fireproof trash enclosure. Can you talk about the volume of trash you anticipate generating that would not need to be disposed of in some other manner? Like you have the hazardous waste, you have the cannabis which has to be mixed with soil. Do you expect to have like normal trash pickup? What kind of volume do you anticipate for trash generation?
I always prefer a very small dumpster, but we are able to go to the trash bins. Overall, it's really just there's excess cocoa cooler pretty much for blocks.
And some recycled from stuff coming in boxes.
Yeah, and yeah, cardboard boxes, bottles, like nutrient bottles, stuff like that. So mainly a lot of recyclables and
So you could do it with the large recycled bins that AC Link provides, or the dumpster,
yeah, we could,
or two big bins, that's what,
Right, so if you have a dumpster, the dumpster would have to be kept outside, and then if it's, a dumpster is outside, it has to be with a fireproof enclosure, which is typically block walls, an opaque, usually metal, steel, gate on the front. So, if you need a dumpster, we want to flush that out now, because the ordinance has that requirement, and we've been very strict about that.
the regular trash enclosure would be required for normal trash.
Yeah, I mean, for any commercial or industrial
You
business.
show a trash enclosure.
Right, we require that trash.
Is there a limit to bins if we need to fold them?
I think what you want to hear is that you provide trash enclosure.
Yeah, well, we've had numerous applicants come in and say, yeah, we can get rid of the trash inside, and then like they sell the building and next week they're all outside.
Right.
It's very difficult to control that.
Fireproof trash enclosure.
Building across the street?
Yeah, right, when they ever come in, we'll have that discussion, but, we're here today for this site, so that's what we have.
So that can be a condition. That's fine.
Any questions of Ryan?
No, so what was how come the shed, I mean, are you using it for landscaping equipment, yard work, I mean, what?
It was storage, it was full of stuff.
Okay.
We're not asking to use it for this operation.
It's a big lie, I didn't know if you were gonna use it for landscaping equipment and things to maintain.
I mean, it'd be nice to have it for storage, but since it's technically not there, we can.
Well, you could get a zoning permit to put a shed in if it,
Okay.
you know, if it meets the regulations, but.
Why don't we do that?
I do think if we could get a permit, that would be great for extra storage.
Seems to be a location where it would be.
Yeah, no, I will say that removing it would also limit the potential for that intervening development exception requirements. Because if you remove it now, you have significantly pulled back the limit of the development closer to it.
So you guys will try and get a zoning permit for it?
If they need a zoning permit for it, if they bought the property with it on it, it looks like, I mean, I don't know what the setbacks are, but it looks like it meets them.
I mean, technically, the city should have some documentation, just memorializing that it's.
You can get it, you can get it.
Yeah, it's
Well, just
like
like
purpose 50.
anybody that wants to put a shed in's got
I
to
didn't
come
know
to.
what, like, open up a can of worms over
No,
there.
you shut it down his office, you talk to Steve, you pay $50 and he signs off on it.
It does meet the setbacks.
The fence was put on the backside, is put at the 50-foot buffer, that's why the backside runs on an angle.
Okay.
It's set off the 50-foot buffer fence currently.
I have a couple of questions and comments. So I read the applicant's submittals, and you mentioned 18-wheelers.
No, yeah, that may be originally just for construction, just to bring in IPM panels for like the day to drop them off. But overall, this is such a small facility. There is no need for 18 wheelers. All deliveries coming in will probably be through UPS, maybe DHL, like a standard delivery service. And then anything going out of our facility will be leaving in a standard car/transit van.
So would the movements in and out be within the fenced area? Like if they come in to take out deliveries or make pickups, they would come in the fenced area?
Yes, correct.
And what kind of vehicles would use that?
Just a transit van, pretty much, the delivery vehicle.
In passenger van.
Pretty much a passenger van. The small, like the ShopRite.
I'm only questioning you because it was in your submittal and your business
You're not
plan.
gonna have an 18-wheeler staging in the street, doing deliveries, anything like that?
No.
And it's gonna be brought back to the garage door too, and basically brought into the building. So it's not like they're gonna back in, drive over to the garage door and put it in the garage.
Okay, well, I know you folks are trying to fast track this application, and I think that we've accommodated you by having the special meeting so that we could do it. But I have a problem with, there was no mention in your submittals about this proposed addition.
We were not planning on doing any additional assets.
Maybe that's the case, and we're talking about this now, but it wasn't in the submittal, and I don't know how in-depth Brian read the survey or whatever that you've submitted, but, and us as board members,
I'd suggest that if you're more comfortable with the variance just applies to this building, and if we seek to do the addition, we come back for both.
okay, because and with all due respect, trying to slip something in when nobody's paying attention, okay? And I'm not pointing fingers or saying anything, I'm just saying that's the way that it appears to me.
We wanted to-
Excuse me, I'm talking, sir.
I apologize, I'm sorry.
Okay. So, you're asking for a lot of things here tonight, okay? And we rely on Ryan's expertise and his review of everything, and everything that he has questioned here should have been on the site plan. And now we keep piling on more and more stuff that you're asking all of us to make a decision on, and we need a chance to think about this and review it. All these questions that you're asking tonight, yeah, we're gonna put a couple of trees in, but now it's trees, and now maybe it's sidewalks, and maybe it's this and whatever, and I'm thinking, you need a site plan for this. And I'm just being upfront with you, because I've been up here 20-some years, applications like this don't fare well with me. And that's just my opinion, and I'm only one vote up here, but it doesn't pass my smell test. So, the shed and all that, you know, get a permit for it, I don't have a problem with that. But we're trying to do too many things here, and everybody's confused, I think. You're in a non-conforming zone, so if it was cut and dried and we didn't have all these other questions, maybe we could do that, but it just seems like it's getting more and more complicated the more we talk. So I don't know how we're gonna remedy this, and I hope that we can, but it keeps looking more and more to me like there's too many questions, and we need a site plan with something on a drawing to say, this is where the fence is, and this is where the driveways are, and this is the traffic circulation, like all the other site plans that we have in here for commercial development. And we bend over backwards at this board to try and accommodate people when we can, but we've pushed past the limit, in my opinion. So that's all I have.
Can I suggest that as a condition of the approval, that we submit a plan to Ryan that shows just the trash enclosure and landscape? That's, I mean, I'm just, I'm just throwing that out there, if that would be, I mean, we're not trying to do anything on the fast track. And I apologize for interrupting, I wanted to address the addition because, you know, Andy mentioned it, so I didn't want anybody to think that we're trying to slip anything in.
I think that should have been in the application so that Ryan could consider that, and in his report and review to us, he could have said in there, they're also proposing possibly another addition to it, but that's not in there. That was sprung on us tonight.
And as I said, the board's more comfortable withdrawing the use variance for any addition. That's fine. That's fine. I don't want to confuse anybody or make, I think we're going to slip anything past anybody. But really what we're talking about is flowers, landscaping, and trash enclosure. And we'll be happy to show you on a revised plan that we submit before any zoning approval is issued.
Okay. Discussion from any board members?
Awnings, lights around the building. I mean, the building should be lit up.
There is currently lighting on the building.
We can document. We can document the existing lighting if more is needed from Ryan's point of view, we can do that.
And with, you know, with the building with the vestibule or door awning, sure, we'll make note of the plan. And I don't think we're asking for anything in that regard. That's not beyond a typical plan being submitted as a condition of approval with some things that come up during the hearing.
Well, except that when Ryan gets the plan, the board doesn't get to review that.
I understand.
And we rely on his professional discretion to do the right thing for the city, and which he does, but nonetheless, when we have these public meetings and all the board members are here, we expect to review all the information at that time. And we like to do things for people and facilitate, you know, projects going on, but I think we have a responsibility to the city to do the right thing on our side.
We appreciate what you've done. We do.
I have a question. Currently, we don't, Ryan, we don't need the use variance, we don't need the actual plan, as we were saying before, correct?
So,
A site plan.
It's different every time.
yeah, right.
I was just.
It's different for every use and per application. I think the example I gave earlier is, you could reoccupy the building with a similar use without making any changes to the site, just come in for a mercantile license and building permit for whatever improvements, and you could reoccupy it. the fact that cannabis is not a permitted use in the zone, and, you know, whether it's similar to prior use of the building or not, you require a use variance. So, and I think, Jack, to your point, the phase two portion, it is included in the application just on the plan, so it was not clear. I understand why they're trying to include it, because if they come back with a site plan to expand the building, they just don't want to go through the use variance process again. But again, to your point, I do think that would potentially be beneficial, because if this is going well and they want to expand, you know, the impact of this facility has sort of been unknown at the moment, right? If they occupy this building with this use, you have what they're telling us, but you don't know exactly how it's going to play out. So if they decide that they do want to expand the footprint, you know, double the size of the building essentially onto that concrete area, I do think it will be helpful for them to come back and seek another use variance, because it's possible that, you know, the city doesn't agree at that point, and would like, you know, the opportunity to say, no, what you have now is, you know, that's enough, but we don't think it would be appropriate to expand.
So, a use variance approved tonight, how does that impact a proposed addition? Wouldn't that be covered regardless, and you just need a site plan to put the addition on?
No, because it's not, if it's not a permitted use, an expansion of it is an expansion of a non-conforming use, which requires a slightly different D variance, but same idea, it's still a use variance. So to expand a non-conforming use, you have to come in and get a use variance for all intents and purposes. So I think they were trying to get through and say like, okay, if we don't want to do the use variance thing again, if we come back to you, we'd like to come back for a site plan and C variances and, you know, those types of things. But then the use would already be permitted even into the expanded footprint. So that was the ask. You know, you guys certainly have the ability to say, look, we'll permit you to do that in the current building, in the current footprint, but not permit you, you know, not include the requested expansion as part of the use variance. So, you know, if you're more comfortable just giving them, you know, permission to do it in that building, that would be a use variance for that and not including the addition.
The company come back for the use, for the expansion?
Right, if and when they decided to expand, they would put together a site plan, they would come back in for a use variance and a site plan.
Okay, can I say something? From what I could see here, it's that this young man wants to buy the building in the future if he gets the approval to be able to do what he wants to do there, which is not permitted according to our rules and regulation. It's supposed to be done at the industrial park. So once he gets that variance approved, then he would have to go to another step, maybe buy the building and maybe decide he wants to expand it, and that he's already got the variance, which means he can grow there whatever he wants. So I think that they're dumping a lot of stuff on us, like Mr. Peterson said, that we cannot decide on. It's one thing before the other. Don't put the cart before the horse. If he gets an approval, I'm sure he'll buy the building. And then it's on him to bring the necessary documentation so that we can review it and decide whether it's approved or not, whether he wants to add to it or leave as is. Am I correct in my assumptions or no?
So it depends on how, you know, what level of cover you have and what you would want to approve this evening. You have the option to just approve the use variance and, you know, and require them to come back with a site plan. You could just approve the use variance and allow them to proceed, you know, with the site as is, as described, within the footprint that it is. Or you could give them a use variance for what's there, an expanded footprint, and then just anticipate or know that they would have to come back with a site plan if and when they were going to expand.
Right, but so far, excuse me for the interruption, he has not documented, he has not or mentioned that he is going to add on, other than word of mouth.
We're going to withdraw that.
It is listed on the plan, but I think to help for everybody's sake, I do think it makes sense, as Ms. Mills was just indicating, to withdraw that and limit it to just a use variance for cultivating cannabis in the existing building in the manner that was described tonight. And then if and when they ever wanted to come back to, you know, expand the building onto that concrete area, then they could come back for another use variance, which would be the expansion of non-conforming use, and a site plan, because at that point, if you're expanding the building, we're anticipating them coming in with parking lot and other site features.
Well, if we got to that point, the problem wouldn't be with the board, it would be with the Pinelands.
Well, yeah, ultimately, it would be harder to get through that anyway.
And knowing the Pinelands and knowing the site, I don't want to predict the future, but
Yeah.
that's a battle that you're going to spend a lot of money on.
A lot of money, a lot of time, yes, I agree. Right, so I'm trying to help to frame it to, remind that if someone came in and wanted to occupy this, making flower pots out of concrete, they could just go to the construction office and get a permit and start doing it tomorrow. And just reoccupy the site, make no improvements.
They don't have to paint it, they don't have to put a fence up.
Correct, they could just reoccupy the building and then meet building code. Because this is for cannabis, which is not permitted in the zone, they have to
Right.
come in for a use variance.
Right.
So if we give them the use variance, they're doing something that is substantially similar at a building that has traditionally been used for light industrial type uses. So it's similar to the way that the building is operated for however long it's been there. It's just a use that's not permitted in this zone.
Okay.
Ryan, I'm still confused on why the other gentleman had to come in. You explained because it was cannabis. Is it very similar to the gentleman who we just approved to do a second building in the industrial park? The building's already there, he bought the building, didn't come in with a site plan or what he's gonna do, any changes, he's buying the building, he's gonna replicate what he's already doing in another building, but he had to come in front of us to get approval because it's cannabis. If he wanted to do plumbing business, heating and air conditioning, anything else, he would have moved in that day, but because the word cannabis is attached, has to come in front of us. Is this the same thing or
So,
different?
This is a little bit different. That was in the industrial park, and any industrial use that's permitted in the industrial zone can go there without coming here, except cannabis, because it's a conditional use. One of the conditions is you have to come to the board. So in that one, the only reason we're here is because it's a conditional use. In this instance, if another industrial use wanted to come in, let's say you want to paint car bumpers, you want to be a neighboring business to across the street. So you're going to bring car bumpers in and paint them, or do something that's more industrial. If it's not substantially similar to the existing non-conforming business or the last business that was in there, then you still need a use variance. So if someone came to us at this site and wanted to do something that's not substantially similar to what has happened there in the past, then they would have to come here whether it was cannabis or not. Does that make sense?
Yes, so,
What was it in the past?
Yeah, the indications I have is that they've made cemetery vaults for the cemetery there. When? Probably 20-plus years ago.
I would say longer than that.
Yes.
The last 20 years,
That's-
it's
that's-
been a storage
That'd
garage.
be the two.
And there was a
The
sign
guy who
down
did
there.
decals.
Yeah.
Okay. so
Well,
they're
I think, Craig, you just bought it last year, right, in 2024? A couple of years ago?
2 years.
Right, and it was vacant for quite some time beforehand.
It was a mess when I got it.
Its original use was a paint factory
Okay, well, there you go. So,
in the
in
40s.
the zoning principle is unless you actively abandon a use, meaning like convert the building to something else, even if you don't use it for 40 years, you're still entitled to that use at that site. We actually just had something
Grandfathered.
very similar. There's a gentleman that owns a lot over near Atlantic and New York, and it has a little fenced-in enclosure and it's used for storage like 30 years ago. He was able to go through the history and figure all that out, and now he's clearing it again and intends to use it for storage. This was never actively abandoned, so he's allowed to resume that use even though it was, in theory, abandoned for a long time. So I would say that similar situation here. It's light industrial, a mix of, sort of similar light industrial uses. But if somebody came in and wanted to do something that is permitted in the industrial park, but not in the highway commercial zone, and is not similar to things that have happened there, then they would have to come to this board, again, cannabis or not.
So coming in just for the use variance, so not required to do anything to the building, any improvements, any planting of trees?
Yeah, if.
So anything they do is really
Only what
Extra.
we would put on it here as
Right.
conditions.
Right, conditions.
extra that we put on.
Correct.
So don't want to get rid of the,
We're only
all the other stuff,
dealing with the building.
and you're just gonna stick with what you have.
That's exactly right.
Then it makes it clean.
Withdraw everything else.
Yeah, everything else would be a condition that the board imposed upon them to grant them the use variance.
So the parking lot, permit for a shed,
Yes,
ADA.
Assuring that the lighting around the building is sufficient and things like that.
and I'm assuming the state has a lot of oversight on your requirements for security, lighting, and all that, and that's
And
out
the
of
city has a
our.
whole application process for cannabis uses in this.
Okay. Seems pretty simple.
Here's what I'm thinking here. this, what I called the wish list before, I read this and I thought this was a home run. Sidewalk, we don't, none of us have to argue about sidewalks and curbs, you know, landscaping, you know, the whole 9 yards. But then when you come here, you know, there isn't a site plan, and I get it, okay, I understand the reasoning. But then you find out that this whole deal here depends on if they're coming back for phase 3. And then their own man says, we probably won't be back.
These significant obstacles.
And I get it, because of the Pinelands, I get it. It's an old building, they're gonna fix it up, they're gonna make something out of it, city's gonna make a little bit of money, but the way it's presented makes, it just looks bad, the way it's presented.
Okay, so let's put some conditions on it.
Summarize.
And talk about a resolution.
Should we open it up to the public before we do that?
Yes. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this application? No public comment? Thank you, Rachel. Okay. We're going to make the shed legal. You're going to put a trash enclosure in. Was there?
Do you want me to read off?
Yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
So the first is to, as Mr. Schaefer suggested, provide that log of the air scrubbers and the manufacturer's recommendations on a monthly basis.
Can I suggest that we modify that to make them available to the city upon request? Because the clerk is gonna hate us. If we submit stuff monthly, that she's gotta find somebody.
The clerk's request, okay, absolutely. As far as the shed, apply for a zoning permit for the shed, and on the chance it's denied, remove it. The ADA compliance, adding a path from the existing concrete pad to the front door to be ADA compliant. Add a fireproof trash enclosure, and submit a revised plan to Ryan with proposed landscaping, the trash enclosure, sufficient lighting around the building, and anything else Ryan believes is appropriate to submit there. And that's what I had.
It was push back the fence to make the parking lot off-street.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Is there any site issue about that?
Why can't you just park inside the gate
We can do that too.
and leave the fence where it's at?
Yeah, I mean,
With
I
the
think,
existing pad, we can park on the existing concrete pad, put some bumper stops there.
yeah, I think the
Well, you're,
condition.
or just from your pictures, you're already competing with the neighbor across the street for parking on the street.
Parking on it, yeah. I think,
I
I was
assume you were
gonna say-
trying not to park in the fence in line, that's the only reason I suggest move the fence back.
So you park inside the gate, right?
Yes,
Okay, park it.
absolutely. No
yeah, I think that would be a better condition, requiring any employees or people at the business to park within the gated area, fenced in area.
That makes it easier for your ADA access.
One other thing that I would like to add, nothing is to be stored outside of the building, no containers, no, Ryan, give me the list of whatever should be on there.
There's a whole ordinance section that discusses it, but yeah, no outdoor storage of materials or, and no outdoor storage of trash, no outdoor storage of trash or trash enclosure outside of the, no outdoor storage of trash receptacles or dumpsters outside of the trash enclosure. But yeah, they're, obviously compliance with the ordinance requirement for storage of trash and debris and whatnot will be required.
Any other comments? Rachel, reframe the ordinance, please, the resolution.
So as you all know, we like to do the motions in the affirmative. So the applicant is seeking site plan waiver and approval and a use variance within the existing building on the subject property. So the motion would sound something like granting the applicant's request for site plan waiver and approval and use variance to operate a cannabis cultivation facility within the existing building at the subject property with the 7 conditions that the board just discussed. I can recap them if anyone would like me to.
Please do.
Okay. The first is for the applicant to provide upon the city clerk's request, the maintenance sheet of the air scrubbers and the manufacturer's recommendations. To apply for, the second is to apply for a zoning permit for the existing shed, and if that permit is denied, to remove it. To become ADA compliant as far as adding a path from the existing concrete pad to the front door. to install a fireproof trash enclosure, to submit a revised plan to Ryan with the proposed landscaping, trash enclosure, sufficient lighting around the building, and any other existing or proposed conditions which Ryan believes is necessary or appropriate. For all parking to be inside the fenced-in area on the concrete pad on the subject property, and for nothing to be stored outside of the building, such as material, the trash, the dumpster, or trash receptacles outside of the appropriate trash enclosure.
Someone make a motion?
Make a motion.
For a second?
Second.
Roll call, Donna, please.
And just a reminder, with your vote, please say a reason why.
Five vote, five.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes, I think they met all of our conditions and the positives outweigh the negatives.
Mr. Walker?
I vote yes, it's low impact, and the city is going to make rules actually.
Mr. Guard?
Yes, for the same reason, there's no impact, no negative impact to that environment. And now the building's at least getting put to use and it's being beautified.
Mrs. Torres? Yes. Any reason? Well, let him take a chance. Young man looking for a good future. Let's see. Let's give him the opportunity.
Michael McKenna?
Yes, and very similar use to what was previously there.
Mr. Molyneux?
I'd say yes, and the same as Gladys, I feel the same way.
And Mr. Burke?
Yes, as long as with the conditions are satisfied, and it definitely would improve the neighborhood, I think. As long as you can get through pinelands and wetlands.
You're approved.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck. Do more research.
Any old business?
I had some old business. Where I came in, I was speaking to Rachel for our last meeting from the grocers. Again, we typed up the resolution on there. My questions, and of course, I was the only one in here that denied it because I live on that block. Kim Hess lives on that block. Our mayor lives on that block. I go past that property 5 times a day. And I know we approved it, and it was already a non-conforming use. It was undersized when it was built 50 years ago. They came up, we felt as though it had no issues. It's a tiny lot. On your application, I think it was 12, I brought it in. There was 12 required parking spots. They're requesting only 7. Okay, now I live there, and I drive past it every single day. Just for last night, 6 o'clock, they're all home. And we approved it with 7 parking spots. There was 13 vehicles parked there last night after they were closed. They weren't even in business. I went by today and I had asked for, a right of way. I mean, literally, I got a picture today of one of the vehicles. There's not enough parking on the lot. And they're going to propose 2 more bays. And most of the cars that are there, the 13, are where the garage is. So I don't know where they're going to go. But in front of the Whitehurst Pike, I mean, that's their 2 access. So today, again, somebody's parking right in front of the Whitehurst Pike in that view, which we haven't even granted it or written off on there. Today I went by at 4 o'clock. They had this, and I don't even know what this vehicle is. And Keith, you might be able to tell me what this vehicle is. But now there's not enough parking in the parking lot, and that's parked out in the residential neighborhood. What is that? It's a tow truck, some type of a vehicle? So it was, the truck was parked there in the view, and now they're parking these major things in the residential neighborhood. So my question is, I think it was a bad decision, but unfortunately it's been approved. But my question is, who's going to be enforcing these issues, okay? Because we said there's 7 parking spots. There was 13 vehicles last night, or 15 last night, 13 the night before. Last week, there was 2 vehicles parked in the right of way. There was 1 parked there today. And now we have commercial vehicles parked in the residential neighborhood.
Can you show me what the statute is for this, commercial vehicles?
All right, this is comments from the board.
Yeah.
I'll open it up to the public
Okay.
as soon as Mr. Frick is done.
I'm sorry. So again, I mean, now that's going to be parked in my street because there's not enough parking spots right now on the building, and we haven't done the addition. So what's going to happen once they do addition? Like, who's going to be enforcing this? Am I the person that have to call the city every single day that got something parked out there? And this just happened, it just got approved, and they're not even, the regulations, not even signed off on, and they're already taking advantage of it. So that's my question, is who enforces this?
They're allowed to park in public parking on the street.
Well, that was the concern I had. The lot is undersized to begin with.
Yeah, no, but there's nothing to stop them.
They're registered and insured. They
They're
can
allowed to park on the
public
street.
So you could.
I get it, it's a residential neighborhood, you know, but,
You could check with code enforcement and/or the police department on whether registered commercial vehicles are allowed to be parked on the street, or whether they have to be parked on lots.
I can assure you they are allowed.
Okay, yeah, various towns have various
Yeah.
ordinances for incorporated.
Carver has some streets you can't park school buses.
Yeah, campers.
Yeah.
You're right, campers are limited. This is not, we don't deal with this typically, so.
But it's parked, again, right in the right of way, so again, that was at 4 o'clock today. So I guess my concern is, I know we had an opportunity, it was voted, I shot it down, but I live there, no one else lives that block. I mean, we talked about your husband, you, my wife, every single day it's an issue. And again, it's approved, we can't do anything about it, but who's going to enforce it every day?
So typically, it's code enforcement and/or the police department. And as far as I'm aware, they have not, like, we talked about things like delineating the site triangle and keeping vehicles out of the site triangle.
Right, that's put in there, yeah.
Right, so there are conditions of the resolution which the enforcement is code enforcement. That's the code enforcement is responsible for enforcing the conditions of the code resolution.
We'll have to call them every day. So they're not there. Because there's not enough parking, and they got approved for 3 vehicles they can sell. There's not enough spots, the lot is undersized, and the garage hasn't even been built yet. But that was my question, so it's code, okay?
any other comments from the board? Open it up to the public.
So what I would suggest is if you do have.
Sir, if you could just stand up, say your name and address again.
My name is David DeGrossa. I live at 203 Lenape Avenue, East Landing. I am one of the owners of 1401 Whitehurst Pike. I believe my mother and my brother, who were here on the actual initial variance hearing, I was unable to attend. If you do have any type of concern, we would ask that, just like anyone else, come to us like normal human beings and just talk to us. We were trying to do everything we possibly can to conform to whatever needs to be done. We want to be part of the community. We don't want to be an outskirt of the community. I would say as far as my tow truck, I drive that truck home every day. It gets parked in my driveway at home. It is not staying there overnight. If it does, it gets put in the backyard behind a fence. I do know that there is commercial zoning in some towns where there is no commercial vehicle parking on city streets overnight. That truck, I assure you, will never be parked there after business hours when I am not there. It will be in the yard. As far as a lot of other vehicles that are there, there are some that are there now that have been there, I admit, too long. They will be removed. Sometimes we are up against some battles of parts. Getting vehicles in and out in a timely manner is something that we are definitely something on. There is probably one truck that you may have a picture of there that has only been there for 2 days. So we're doing our best to try and keep everything clean, but as far as anything else, if there is a problem, please come to us like human beings. Don't treat us the way you would not want to be treated, and we're going to try and work as best we can. But at the end of the day, if we can't build upon the city, people leave. And we don't want to leave. We've been here for a very long time. I grew up in a crib in the office of that building. I want to make it look better. I want to be a part of it. I don't want to be, an outcast of it. So that's it. Thank you.
No, that's fine, and I live in that neighborhood, and again, we're looking out for the best interest of the neighborhood to avoid any accidents, and like I said, in the last week, there was 3 vehicles in that view. and they shouldn't have been there. We were just here in September, we did grant the approval, just try and put them in a different location, but I know your lot is very, very, very small.
In the instance of where those vehicles park, we do our best to keep them behind the actual sidewalk and curbing that is out there. Actually, and when we applied, had reapplied for our state dealer's license kit, we had to mandate that there are those spaces in the front, and that is where the state representative motor vehicle commission came in and had us paint the lines. Now, we will be repainting lines, of course, and we are going to have to reconform to motor vehicle commission's, statutes, regulations, and all that, but that is where the motor vehicle man said, I want them here. And at one point, they said, RPM used auto sales right on. So,
Right, yeah. Well, unfortunately, he doesn't live at that intersection and have to try and pull out with oncoming traffic to see. But we will do that in the future, and I live in the neighborhood, so we'll just say, hey, move it back.
And sometimes when vehicles are dropped off overnight, I'm not there 24/7.
That does happen, I know that.
As fast as I can in the morning, and people call me the lot ninja. I am out there moving cars and trying to keep everything orchestrated all day long.
I do the same thing, I drop mine after hours because I'm busy during the day. Okay, well, thank you for your input.
Is this open for discussion?
It's open for public comments.
I just wanted to.
Just identify yourself, Kim, please.
Kim Hesse, 236 New Orleans Avenue. I just wanted to ask you, as far as if you were to clean out behind the building, would that give you more space? Because there's a lot of, it looks like there's a lot of junk back there that doesn't,
There
Could
will be
get rid of that.
cleaning of house going on as the building progresses and we go to build things. There is going to be a lot of house building.
because I think that could free up some space. You
Absolutely.
have no, room to have junk. But
There is house cleaning that is going on.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other public comment? All right, I just have one comment, and I've been running my mouth here for a couple of years about this, and we have the council representative here who's in charge of code enforcement, and we've got our engineer here, and we just went through 2 applications, the DeGrossa being one of them, made them put in a trash enclosure. We just had another application to put in a trash enclosure. And does a place need a trash enclosure? No, you don't have to have a trash enclosure, but if you go around some towns that have properties that have been approved that don't have trash enclosures, what do you find? Okay, so we just put conditions on 2 buildings that are within 400 feet of the Dollar General, and for how long that building's been built, from day one, the carts are in that parking lot, lined all the way up to New Orleans Avenue, full of cardboard, blowing all over the neighborhood, and all I get is lip service, or I get some cockamamie thing from the code enforcement about it was the homeless people or whatever. You people need to go out there and cite them and have that stop tomorrow. It can't be. It can't be. Every day you go by there, the only time you don't see it is the truck just left, and he just dropped off more, and tomorrow the carts are lined up all the way down there. You mean to tell me you can't go out there and write a citation to them people? What is taking so long? And you just got the guy across the street at the bowling alley, you made him turn to, and he walks out there and he looks at the stuff at Dollar General? It's not equitable. Something has to be done about this Dollar General, and I'm not going to stop bitching until something is done. There's no excuse for it not to be done. Send a code enforcement guy over there and write them a summons. They've already been to court. It's time hand-holding is done. They need to be cited. Those carts have to be inside that enclosure. Right now, they are storing their trash outside. Every day, they're storing their trash outside. And it's not this Dollar, just this Dollar General. Every Dollar General that you go by in the country is the same way. It's their business model, and it's got to end. And it's going to end here, or it'll be the death of me. That's all I got to say. Any other questions or comments? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.